Let's rocket back to the world of Power Rangers in space in Power Rangers, the Psychopath. And this book is written by Paul Aller, with art by Giuseppe Cafaro, colors by Marcelo Costa, and letters by Ed Dukeshire. And this is a 2019 standalone story based in the Power Rangers in Space universe, which primarily focuses around the Psycho Rangers, Karone, her relationship to them, and the struggles of dealing with her past as Astronema. And this book starts off in the moon with the return of the Psycho Green Power Ranger, a character we had not seen since the 1969 story in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Boom Studios comic book. At which some point later we transition to KO35 when the Psycho Rangers are attacking the citizens trying to find Karone. And after killing quite a few people, Karone does go with them. She's then taken aboard her ship where she meets Psycho Green. They have a little bit of a conversation because Psycho Green wants to brainwash her back 100% to being Astronema, because by this point, Karone had, as far as everybody knows, gone completely good and had even served on the Power Rangers Lost Galaxy team, replacing Kendrix after her passing. However, Karone does insist that she does not need to be brainwashed and that the fine line between Astronema and Karone was always very thin. And to prove this, she demonstrates a level of power we haven't seen from her since she was Astronema. And naturally, not long after this, her brother Andros, who is the Red Space Ranger, catches wind of this from Zane and decides to go on a hunt looking for her. And this is one of those scenes of the book that I do find kind of heartbreaking, because Andros is once again just devastated at the fact that his sister was kidnapped, because prior to, a long time ago when they were kids, she had been kidnapped by the monster Darkonda and turned into Astronema in the first place. So even as adults, he's essentially having to relive this same horror in his mind all over again. Meanwhile, Karone is reintroduced once again to the Psycho Rangers, and after some time they decide to continue their main mission, which is searching for a Dark Spectre secret weapons lab at previous Dark Spectre strongholds. Because as we know from watching the actual Power Rangers in Space show, Dark Spectre by this point is dead. And during the mission, Psycho Pink actually takes a hit, at which point Psycho Green wants to take her back to the ship, completely destroy her, and using the memory data chip to kind of make adjustments before remaking her. However, Karone decides she doesn't want that to happen and instead just wants Psycho Pink to lay in the hospital bed and recover. Because what she's trying to do is build trust with the Psycho Rangers, and even interestingly enough, begins to share human experiences with them. This includes things like her wanting them to pick names for themselves so they're more than just Psycho Red, Yellow, and so on. Actually having them sit down, watch a movie with a bucket of popcorn, and really doing everything she can to reinforce a few different lessons, one of those being loyalty to family. As well as also trying to teach the Psycho Rangers that they just can't kill everybody, because if world domination, or universal domination in this case, is your ultimate goal, what are you going to do if everybody's dead? And from the looks of it, these things are actually starting to work, minus with Psycho Green, who is really starting to become more and more suspicious of Karone. And off the side, even asks Psycho Yellow what she thinks, because he's saying that, don't you notice that every time she opens her mouth, it's about not killing everybody or petting puppy dogs, kind of like a Power Ranger. And Psycho Yellow, you can tell she's a little reserved, but she does tell him that she is withholding final judgment. And then we move to see that around this time frame, Andros, of course, is still looking for his sister, while Karone is actually training the Psychos while they're going on missions and using non-lethal means, which has actually been making it harder for Andros to track their path of destruction. And then after a few months, he actually does manage to find their ship, and so he morphs, gets on board, however, ends up tripping an alarm, which alerts all of the Psychos that, hey, there's a Ranger now on board. And luckily Karone finds him first, but isn't exactly happy to see her brother as she explains what she's been trying to do with the Psychos, which Andros thinks is utterly insane, prompting Karone to actually knock him out. And because Andros had relayed his coordinates to Alpha 6, the other Space Rangers show up in the Astro Megaship and begin firing. Naturally, this culminates in an all-out battle between the two Ranger teams. And while this conflict ensues, Andros and Karone actually find their way into Psycho Green's lab, where Karone finds the memory cards that can create the Psycho Rangers time and time again. and she moves to tell Andros that she wants to reformat the chips to make them more independent and make them more good, and once again recreate them, but first she would have to destroy them. Again, Andros is just not on board with this entire thing, and rightfully so, because his experience with the Psychos in the past has never been good. Even the Psychos had killed the first Lost Galaxy Pink Ranger. And feeling like she has no other choice, she begins shocking him with her powers until he's unconscious. Unfortunately, Psycho Green was nearby, heard this whole thing, and a small battle between Karone and Psycho Green ensues, with Green actually coming out on top. That is until Psycho Pink shows up and does battle with Psycho Green, knocking him out. And in what I'd call a very touching moment, Psycho Pink and Karone actually embrace each other in a hug, with Psycho Pink saying her name is now Nokria. And it's also around this time that the Psycho Rangers have completely decimated the Space Rangers, but also decide not to kill him in order to respect Karone, aka Astronema's wishes, showing that they are understanding the values that she has been teaching them, which is very interesting juxtaposed to how we've known the Psychos to be before within the show. The Psychos then make their way to Karone and Psycho Pink's location, at which point Karone admits and tells them exactly what she wants to do, and that the reason she's been trying to teach them good things is that so she can hold on to that, reprogram the chips, destroy them, and recreate them better than before. And rightfully so, because in the Psychos' views, every time they're not deemed perfect in the eyes of their creator, they get destroyed and remade again. At least until Nokria steps forward and then volunteers to be killed. And all we see is Karone pointing a blaster at Nokria's head before we cut back to the Astro Megaship, where Andros and Karone are talking to each other about everything that's happened. And it's here that Karone admits that she lied to the Space Power Rangers as well as her brother, because she had told them that she had remade the Psycho Rangers to be better than they were before, but admits to Andros later that she actually just destroyed the data memory chips so that they can never be remade, but essentially left them the way they were. And once again, enraged by his sister's decisions, he actually takes the locket that holds the picture of him as well as her as children, and he throws it against the wall. Because in his mind, she picked the Psychos over her actual blood. To which Karone does shoot back, "How can you not understand what I'm trying to do? I created them, like I destroyed the people that they were before in order to make them, and I'm just trying to give them their life back. It'll never be 100% the same, they'll never be actually who they were before, but if she can just do this one little thing, it may be able to help her find some peace." And that's why she chose to trust them and treat them like family. And we begin to wrap up this part of the story by going back to the Psycho ship, see that they're still maintaining those values that Astronema, aka Karone, had left in them, and even keeping Psycho Green locked up as they now move towards an uncertain future. And this book then transitions into sort of an epilogue chapter called Psychotic, with this one being written by Trey Moore, with art by French Carlo Magno and letters by Ed Dukeshire. And it's here that we're introduced to the Sonic Rangers of the planet Zebria, which is an awesome callback to Trip, the Green Time Force Ranger, who is also Zebrian. And it's here that we meet Trek, the Green Sonic Ranger, who actually does not go out on missions because this team relies on the visions of Ace, the Red Sonic Ranger, in order to make sure that the team succeeds. So whenever he has a vision, they follow it to the letter. And lately, within all of his visions, the Green Sonic Ranger has not been on any of these missions. Which means that Trek actually hates this. He hates sitting back when he knows that he's easily the most powerful of the six. And after a brief argument between Ace and Trek, Ace gets another vision, which means they're off on another mission. And so after they're gone, Trek then decides to follow them as so not to be seen, and he gets there just in enough time to see the Sonic Rangers run into a structure that then blows up. And Trek, he walks into the wreckage, finds that Ace is still alive, and here's the twist. He set the bomb. Ace, of course, wants to know why he would do such a thing. Trek tells him, "I know you never saw me as part of the team, so I found a better one." And so Trek shoots the Red Ranger, gets in the ship, and flies to the planet Infernus. And it's here we meet a figure who projects the image of Dark Spectre and turns him into the first Psycho Ranger, the Green Psycho Ranger to be exact. And it's then that the projection of Dark Spectre tells Psycho Green, okay, well, now that you're my ranger, I've got a mission for you. You need to head to the moon, you need to find Rita Repulsa, and you gotta retrieve the Green Dragon Zord coin, which essentially puts into motion the events of the 1969 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers story. And so Psycho Green takes off, and Dark Spectre says that, hey, he's the first of many. He's gonna find other Power Rangers, corrupt them, and turn them into psychos as well. Which is where the entire story ends, and man, is this fascinating. It's a story that really looks at nature versus nurture, as well as absolving the sins of one's past, and essentially trying to somewhat undo the damage that they caused, with Karone being one of the focal points of the story. Because as Astronema, she did many terrible things, and she thinks that if she can retroactively kind of heal the Psycho Rangers to a degree and give them some semblance of their humanity back, that maybe she can start to heal a little bit too. And also like other aspects in the story, like the discussion about duality between Astronema and Karone, because yes, during the latter half of Power Rangers in Space, Astronema was essentially reprogrammed, you know, she was being mind controlled into being Astronema, but really during the first half, she was just a child who was kidnapped and raised evil, which means that there is still a level of her own psyche that is evil on its own. And within the story, we do start to question those areas about where that fine line is, if there actually is one. There's also themes of family going on in the story, as we see Karone treat the Psycho Rangers like family in order to, again, try to see if she can turn them into good people, which also then puts a strain on her relationship with Andros, her actual blood family. And again, it's very interesting to look at it, because for the majority of her life, the side of evil was her family, and she didn't really come to know of Andros being her brother until they were already adults. And at times it may seem like Andros is being a little too unreasonable, but then again, you do have to look at it from his perspective, where the Psycho Rangers made their life hell during the Power Rangers in Space storyline, and then when he met them a second time, they actually killed the Lost Galaxy Pink Ranger, who Karone actually took over for. And of course, the epilogue of the story, getting Psycho Green's origin, just adds to the level of tragedy, as the story all but says that not only were the Psycho Rangers originally people, but they were themselves Power Rangers. Power Rangers that were manipulated and corrupted, just like Trek was. Overall, this book is the entire package of everything that a fan of the Power Rangers or the Psycho Rangers, or even just a fan of the Power Rangers in Space season could ask for. Because it's a deep story that deepens the lore of the Power Rangers universe, and I highly recommend this book. So Power Rangers, the Psychopath, have you read this story? I would love to hear your thoughts. Please leave your comments in the comment section below, and if you like this video, I'd love it if you'd smash that like button, share it with some friends, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and ring that notification bell for more comic book content. And if you're wondering what to watch next, consider one of these two videos. Alright, take care, have a great day, and as always, stay geeky.